And we have a go for auto sequence start. T-minus 17 seconds and counting. All systems are go. Start. 2, 1. Booster ignition and liftoff.
It's time to charge up with Victor Pisano.
Hey everybody, it's Victor Pisano and welcome to another edition of the Powercast from Charge Up. You know, there's certain words that tend to resonate in our minds when we're faced with a challenge or an obstacle. For me personally, it's a quote from a leader that I admire, probably number one on my list, and that is Sir Winston Churchill. You've seen this quote. It makes its rounds every once in a while. A lot of sports teams tend to use it, as well as leadership coaching. It reads, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts." It's such an eloquent statement, yet the power of the message is unreal. Regarded as an amazing orator, Churchill, he tended to choose his words so carefully, and he put tremendous thought into his messages. He understood the power of persuasion. His words, they were applicable to the politician, the war general, the upper class, and the poor alike. If you have the time, and I say if you have the time because we're talking about 3,000 pages, an incredible book about him is called The Last Lion, and literally the third book in the series finally shows where the people understood Churchill and accepted him, because he went through some very, very adverse times where, as a leader, he stood alone. But it was his ability to be perseverant, to communicate, and to stand for the morals and the values that he had. That's what changed not only the nation, it changed the world. And that's why, to me, when I read that, I see so much more than just something about failure. It reminds me that every day I have a responsibility to improve, regardless of the current success I might be celebrating or in the middle of. It also reiterates that failing doesn't make me a failure, but it builds wisdom and experience in my effort to continue to move forward. And lastly, the word courage, just by itself, it brings such a feeling of empowerment. I can only imagine being in the room when Winston Churchill spoke these words in his calm and knowing demeanor, and feeling that confidence that he spoke with. In our society, it's human nature to avoid failure, and we're all guilty of the negative self-talk that really does derail our accomplishments. But this is where courage becomes a critical trait to possess as a leader. No innovation, no discovery, or a breakthrough has ever been accomplished without a series of failures, some so catastrophic that the only person who believes in you is you. So I wanted to provide a few examples of failures that resulted in success. So let's start with Abraham Lincoln. From his first foray into the Illinois state legislature in 1832 to his presidential election in 1860. Do you realize Lincoln lost 8 races for various political office? But despite all those setbacks, he didn't quit running for office because he was committed to making an impact on his country. It was his passion and it was his purpose. Not only did his tenacity finally pay off into a successful presidential race, but it gave him the skills to lead a nation through an extremely turbulent time. Today, many regard his 4 years in office as one of the most well-respected and successful presidencies in history. Without his advocacy for equal rights, over the years so many Americans wouldn't have been able to vote. That proves just how long that legacy has endured. Let's talk about Henry Ford. While you might not love your daily commute, depending upon where you live, you should still thank Henry Ford for making it possible. That, as well as many other forms of modern transportation. After watching his first automobile business go bankrupt in just a year, he easily could have quit, or at least try to break into another industry. But he alone trusted his ideas so much that he believed he could do it, even when nobody else did. Well, fast forward to 1903. He saw success in the Model A, and then, most famously, the Model T in 1908. Besides being the father of popular and affordable transportation, he also invented the modern assembly line. So through his long business career, it was filled with both successes and failures, but he met each one with the resilience that he taught himself from the very beginning. Okay, sports fans, let's give you one to relate to. Michael Jordan. Many basketball fans, in fact, sports fans in general and players, they all view Michael Jordan as the ultimate game changer. But this NBA All-Star, he might not have ever made it past his high school basketball court if he would have given up after his first failure. As a high school sophomore, Jordan was cut from the varsity basketball team. But instead of being discouraged, he just motivated himself to put in the extra practice time to make the team the following year. Learning this lesson of dedication and perseverance early, it allowed Jordan to succeed later both in college and in the NBA. No matter what obstacles came his way, he was prepared. He's quoted as saying, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I've missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that's why I've succeeded." You see, it was his mindset. It was how he looked at things. He knew, according to Churchill, failure is not fatal. So go ahead and put on your Mickey Mouse ears. We're going to talk about Walt Disney. Everyone's heard the phrase, it all started with a mouse. But Walt Disney's long and successful career actually started with the end to his first job. When Disney was in his early 20s, the Kansas City Star fired him because his editor thought, and I quote, he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. But despite the criticism, Disney went on and he found Laugh-O-Gram Studios, which went bankrupt. But to overcome these setbacks, Disney simply went back to the drawing board. And I mean that literally. Even after creating the now world-famous Mickey Mouse, Disney couldn't find distribution for any of the first silent animated shorts that he made for Mickey Mouse. Once sound made its way into film, however, Disney created a new short. It was called Steamboat Willie, which became an instant sensation cartoon that set into motion his lifelong success. Who hasn't heard of Harry Potter? So with that, let's talk about J.K. Rowling. When we hear her name, we think of the boy wizard that created a multi-million-dollar literary empire. But there's a backstory that proves having a dream with persistence can make anything come true. Did you know Rowling spent many years struggling just to make ends meet? She was living on welfare with no real vision of how to create a better life for her, along with her newborn daughter. You see, she was a single mother. She was clinically depressed and jobless, but her daughter inspired her to re-engage herself in what she found as an outlet, and that was writing. That was her passion. The idea for Harry Potter, it came years before, and that was on a train ride from Manchester to London, but she had put it aside. Did you know that her original pitch for Harry Potter was actually rejected 12 times by publishers? But Rowling never gave up. So let's fast forward to 1999. That is when her dream and her passion became reality. Today, with over 450 million books sold, Rowling has not forgotten her past. She was awarded the Order of British Empire's Honors List in 2000, and she is an eminent philanthropist contributing money and support to notable charities all over the world. You see, all of these people had one thing in common. They did not allow themselves to give up on their dreams, although they actually failed numerous times along the way in their path to success. Henry Ford has an incredible quote. It says, "Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently." Once we understand that failure is not the opposite of success, but rather a critical part of it, our approach and our acceptance can change. Whether it's a project at work or investing in yourself to achieve a major goal in your life, remember, being afraid to fail is much worse than never trying at all. I can't think of a better way to end than to go back to another quote from Winston Churchill, and that is, "Success consists of going from failure to failure without a loss of enthusiasm." I just provided you examples of incredible stories, but these are people you've heard about. Imagine the thousands, the tens of thousands of people who have achieved success when nobody else believed in them, who achieved success when barrier after barrier and obstacle appeared before them, but instead of it allowing them to take a detour, they went right through it. This could be you listening. Take a step back and remember, how did you achieve that success? Did you do it through fear, or did you do it through confidence and perseverance and hard work? These are the stories of leadership. Remember, leadership is not about power or authority. It's about influence, the willingness of people to believe in you because you elicit something from them. And the two quotes that I gave you from Winston Churchill, they are the epitome of telling you it is okay to fail. Just continue. That's the message for today. Remember, leadership is a privilege. Thank you for taking the time to listen. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and go check out more of our Charge Up content. We're covered all over social media, but you can always go to chargeuptoday.com. On behalf of all of us at Charge Up, we sincerely thank you for support and for listening to this edition of the Powercast. As always, I'm humbled to lead. Have a great week, And don't forget, my friends, charge up.
Roger, we'll stop. That was a picture-perfect end to a top-fuel mission. Everybody, welcome back to Earth.
Thanks for listening to Charge Up with Victor Pisano. Subscribe to the podcast at chargeuptoday.com.